This episode is brought to you by members of the You Run Podcast Network, the Dewey Pod Monster, Voices from the Mausoleum, Pop Culture Reflections Podcast, Video Tasties, Movies for Days, The Ghoulish Gallery, The Aardvark and the Magic Moshies Do Red Dwarf, You Gonna Eat That Crust Podcast, The Girl and the Gay Podcast, The Horror Friendly Podcast, and the Paranormal Misfits Podcast. All available at yourunpodcast.com. Mark. You're laughing already. I've won.
I know what's coming. We've done this long enough now. Come on. Let's have it over and done with.
What do you call a dog that floats?
One of these days, I'm going to get the answer to this.
You've not got it in over 100 episodes. I doubt you'll ever get it.
I know, but I'm feeling like balloon, hot dog balloon. I don't know. I'm not going to get it. Go on, hit me.
A good boy.
Come on.
Hey, everyone.
The You Run Podcast.
It's the You Run Podcast.
You want to die tonight?
Scott, I think you know who the fuck this is that's talking.
Cancel Mark. I was terribly offended.
Because after all, this is not our show, this is your show.
Hello and welcome to the cursed dog-loving division of the You Run Podcast Network. My name is Scott.
Hello, mi nombre es Mark. That took me all day to learn that, so you better appreciate it.
I'm very impressed. Did you learn anything else?
No. It took me long enough to learn hello, my name is.
That's really good. And that to our Spanish listeners, which we have, they will really appreciate the effort. And if there are any Spanish listeners, please call in and correct his pronunciation.
That was a few YouTube videos, so that must be bang on.
You've really
unless I've just ordered some fried chicken, I don't know.
We're your hosts each week as we bring you a movie review selected by you on our Instagram polls. To vote in upcoming episodes, go and follow us on Instagram at yourunpodcast.com. Also, all the other social medias, or go to yourunpodcast.com and all the links are there. You can get involved in features like 3-Word Review, TikTok Talks, lots of other things too. While you're stalking Instagram, you need to go and follow Mark. He's Reviews from the Crypt and VHS from the Crypt. And I've been told that if I make it sound more epic, more people will go and follow him. So go and follow Mark.
Amazing. I'm wearing the shirt today as well. How good is that?
How bizarre. You sent me a photo of that and then that music appeared in the show. It's like magic.
So no one actually told you to make it sound more epic then?
No, they did. I'd done a marketing course with work. And part of that marketing course is when you want people to really invest in something, you need to make it sound epic. So
what more epic than it could be with Lord of the Rings music. I'm struggling to speak at the moment. I don't know if I'm like half Spanish or half English at the moment. I think that's a problem.
I can't be coping with you slipping in and out of Spanish accents for the whole episode.
Oh, mate. We don't need to dive into accents at all, trust me.
I
would like to know how British I sound trying to speak Spanish, or how Yorkshire I sound trying to speak Spanish.
Yeah, you still do. The thing is, like, if we start messing with Spanish, we're one step away from Italian, and we know that leads us to, hey, it's me, it's Mario. And we're not going there. You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to yourunpodcast@gmail.com or by recording a direct message audio version on Instagram or X. Do not forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. It helps us reach new listeners and bumps us up the charts as well, and that helps a lot. Now, like last week, we're not going to go into this episode alone. We have a guest, a fabulous guest, the creator and host of the Let's Talk Horror channel and the Welcome to the Creep Zone podcast, the video podcast on YouTube, a man who says what he thinks, he doesn't pull his punches, a man who is also the first guest in the history of the show who will not face a quiz of any description.
Can't believe it. Cannot believe it. You had the opportunity, guys, right there for us to play a grueling quiz once again, and you missed it.
Yeah, so instead we're going to play a really fun game with our guests, which is going to be highly entertaining for everyone, not just me, which is nice. I'm sure you've guessed already, but if you haven't, it's a pleasure to welcome BP of the Let's Talk Horror Channel.
What's up? God, fucking, you made me so gangster. It's unbelievable. I feel like we need to I should come in like, yeah, hang on. Je m'appelle BP, j'adore le Grand Jardin. So that way we can reach. I think it means I like big gardens, something like that. But at least we're reaching your French audience as well. And I was also sitting here thinking of a joke, but I'm not very funny, so I can't think of any.
I don't know. That was pretty impressive, mate. I like that. I like the French introduction there. You kind of top trumps me, not only with great intro music, but even more intelligent vocabulary than me. So
I wouldn't say intelligent.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you back. Anyone who doesn't know, BP joined us for People Under the Stairs, and that episode is hilarious and lots of talk about GIMP masks, which won't feature in today's episode.
Well, surprise.
I'd forgotten what episode it was you'd been on. I knew obviously we'd had you on before and it was fantastic, but I just couldn't for the life of me remember what film it was we did.
How could you forget?
Yeah, it ended up being one that you didn't like that much, I think.
But we do this every week. We do a lot of movies and we have a lot of guests. I obviously remember doing the show with BP. I couldn't for the life of me remember what film it was we did.
Thing is, you can't remember what we done last week. Like I'll start advertising an episode we done 2 weeks ago, and you're like, "Have we done that? What was it the other day? You suggested something for a poll." I was like, "Mate, we done that. It come out like 6 weeks ago."
Mate, at least twice a week you have to message me to remind me what we're doing this week. I'm like, "Oh yeah, so we're doing that this week." You're like, "No, dude, we're doing that in a couple of weeks." Like, "Oh, so we're doing that one then?" He's like, No, that's even further away.
You need to start putting your lineup and your posters behind you.
Yeah. The best ones are when it gets to like Thursday. We've got like 24 hours left to go. And he's like, "You definitely watched the right movie this week, didn't you? Just to let you know, this is what we're doing."
This is We Love Shudder Week. We give you a chance to vote for movies that are only available on Shudder. And you picked a great one. So today we're looking at an interesting twist on possession and zombie movies. This movie teaches us lots of lessons, like don't help your neighbors, never visit your ex, make sure your dog has the correct size chew toy so it doesn't attack your child. This is going to be a cool episode, and I say that with confidence because we are going to be playing When Evil Lurks.
Hay un embichado en el pueblo.
Estás asustando a mi familia.
¡Lo vi con mis propios ojos! ¡Estuve con él! Esto va a ser un infierno.
Tenemos que encontrar a la bestia antes de que nazca más. Los tiempos de la fe se terminan rápido.
And it didn't
I am
occur
so
to
glad
me.
I watched this movie blind. But not only that, your dog is making some orgasmic noises with his snoring.
He makes some fucking weird noises. Everybody's going to hear it. It sounds like
I thought it was the
sounds-
trailer, and then the trailer finished. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, imagine. It's quite scary sometimes. Sometimes he like do a little thing where you go, "Ugh."
What dog is it
So
to
you might
make
hear it.
that much of a wild roar?
This is what happens when you got like he's a pug dog, so he's got half a face. So he makes so much noisy.
Also, I've just realised that anyone who's just listening to the audio only podcast, that was probably the most boring 2 minutes. You just had a bit of beat with some Spanish, and unless you're fluent in Spanish, you have no idea what movie we're talking about.
It's a good job I've been putting the work in, isn't it?
Yeah,
I had to stop myself doing a trailer reaction to that. I was sitting there and I was about to start talking through it, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm not doing one of my videos."
Oh, it's allowed. You could have talked over the top. Yeah, that's a cool trailer, man. But it gives away a hell of a lot. When this film first came out and it started all aboard the hype train, I went straight in because it was on Shudder and it was free, so I didn't have to wait around in cinemas and things like that. So I just jumped on it straight away before anything got spoiled. But man, that trailer gives a lot away. I'm so glad I
Too much
that before seeing this movie, because that would have compromised a lot of my experience, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm with you. I think we're all agreed. Listeners score the movies here. They scored this a 4 out of 5. Letterboxd coming at a 3.6 out of 5. Any guesses where our AI companion Gladys scored this?
I think she'll be pretty high. I think she'll be pretty high with this one. I would go maybe 4.5. I'm not opening this up with beef against Gladys either, because she's kind of winning me over at the moment. So let's see what she's got to say for herself.
Yeah, she gave this a 3 out of 5.
Bitch.
Gladys, you fucking bitch.
Gladys is going to be making an appearance on an upcoming episode for everyone who's reached out to me to ask when Gladys is coming back.
Oh, fantastic.
We're actually going to have Gladys as a guest.
How is that even going to work? I'm still not 100% convinced that you aren't Gladys, to be honest.
I'm not Gladys. You'll be able to ask Gladys like questions live. I haven't worked out how we're going to do it, but I will make it work. We are a spoiler-heavy show, and here's your spoiler warning.
Okay, I'm going to explain this shit to you like you're 5. Get your eyes checked. Read the damn episode title. I don't want to hear any bitching, any complaining about how, oh, there's spoilers. No, read it. If you've not seen it, do not listen.
Thanks.
The voice makes that so much better, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, yeah, it's really like a southern mum like telling you off, like, don't be a fucking idiot. Don't listen to it if you've not seen it. It's great.
Don't go out the window, you'll fall off the porch.
I'm glad someone else is taking the heat this week.
So we're going to kick this off, and I'm going to say, yet again, I had to read a fucking movie, but I'd done it and I persevered. I have an issue. I have an issue with, like, if I want to read something, I'll pick up a book. When I watch a film, I want to sit down and switch off. To have to read it, I find a chore.
I just don't get that side of things, man. Because once I used to be the same. I used to hate like subtitled movies, but these days, man, I'm just so, I don't know whether it's because I'm watching a hell of a lot more than I used to, but I just don't even notice anymore when I'm doing it. What's weird is when people watch English speaking stuff on Netflix with subtitles. My wife does it. She's watching like a documentary, or she's watching like some sitcom, and she'll put the subtitles on. I'm like, what are you doing? You are listening to what you are reading. I'm like, that is the most stupid thing I've ever heard.
You're like, you do realize this is your language.
Yeah, I'm like, you don't have to have the volume down so low that you have to read it. So why don't you just turn the subtitles off, because it's distracting and annoying.
Well, what's fantastic about a movie like this is like it's very similar to, because I don't mind, like, I'll watch anything, and sometimes you do have to be in a bit more of a mood for something with subtitles now, because you have to concentrate a little bit more. Like, I can't be absolutely off my nut watching a subtitled movie unless it's something like Takeshi's Castle. But I can't do so something like When Evil Lurks. The reason it's so good is because it almost feels like you're watching something that isn't subtitled, because it's so like sort of expertly crafted. Before we go into it and stuff, it's sort of like the raid movies, like 1 and 2. They're like 2 of the greatest action movies that have ever been made, but it feels like you understand the dialogue that's happening in it because of how well it's put together.
Yeah. The thing is with this, like, I tend to usually put upcoming episodes on a couple of times throughout the week. I'll watch it once intensely, and then it'll just be on as like background noise and stuff. Like, I couldn't do that with this movie. I tried to do it the other night, and I ended up just sitting down and watching it again for another hour and 40 minutes because you can't listen, because you don't know what's going on while you're cooking your tea. So you have to sit and read and watch. So for that side of things, it's not really a background type of movie unless you are Spanish.
Yeah, but even saying that, like, this works, is crafted well enough that you could take all of the dialogue out of this and I'd still understand it. Like, if no one said a word, I would understand the entire plot and narrative. I get it. It's put together in a very visual way. And I think that's because they knew they needed to appeal to a wider audience than just Spanish-speaking people.
So one of the things that they do a lot of the times when it's foreign language movies is they do an absolute shitloads of storyboarding, because storyboarding is essentially, obviously, telling the story, and sometimes they do it quite basic. But when they do a lot of foreign language ones that they're trying to, like you say, trying to reach a broader audience, to take it to the US and the UK and internationally, they do a lot more work with storyboarding, because that way they can start nailing the idea and the concept of where the film starts, goes, and ends, and so on, but in a visual format. And then that's where they work in the script and everything to those elements as well. So it's an interesting way of doing it, but it works really well when, like I said, like, you're trying to reach a bigger audience.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is with this movie as well, like, as we say, it's you could follow along without ever listening to a word of dialogue said, because it's not heavy on the exposition. You kind of you're dumped into the middle of this crisis with the main characters, and you're learning as much as they're learning as you go, and they don't dive too much into the lore. They don't explain a hell of a lot of the stuff that happens. You just are in it, and that's it.
Yeah. And you've just described the problems I have with the movie, is the lack of explanation, but we'll get to that later.
I knew you were going to be that guy this week.
I didn't know where you were going to be on it.
I'm going to say it now. I like this movie, but I do have some issues with it. It's not a bad movie, but I do have some things that annoy me. I sort of
feel like it's going to be like last time when I did an episode with you. It was like me and you, and Mark not so much. I feel like it might be the opposite on this one.
Yeah, I think it will be. We kick off with Pedro and Jamie, 2 brothers in their farmhouse, and they hear gunshots outside. In the morning, they head off to investigate and discover a man cut clean in half. I've got lots of questions, but I'm going to save them. I'm going to put a pin in that for a minute, and we're going to come back to it in a second. The brothers reach a little shack in the hills, and there's a little old lady there with her 2 sons. Her eldest son, Uriel, has become rotten. And there are some references that this only happens in the city and it doesn't happen out here in the sticks. This dude is disgusting. Like,
he's eating too much McDonald's.
He's like one of the well zombies from The Walking Dead season 2, where they're like at the farm, and then and Glenn pulls out that bloated well zombie. He looks exactly like that.
It's not a good look, and like, it's one of those that when you see it and they're sort of gagging and reacting to it, you can almost smell how bad this guy is through the screen. We also find out that the man who was cut in half was actually a cleaner, and he was coming to kill Uriel and abort the unborn demon living within him. Now, I love this concept that when someone's possessed, you need to kill them and then deal with the demon afterwards. I think that is so cool. My questions arose at this point is like, who cut the cleaner in half, because it sure as hell isn't that fat git in the bed. He did not get up and cut anyone in half. Like, he's not
his brother
moving.
did it.
Oh yeah,
the
I
little
found that
boy
out
did it.
later.
Oh,
Yeah,
I,
I found
I
that.
thought you were still lingering.
I thought it was a question.
Who did it?
No, no, it's,
I was the same. I was like, "Are you throwing this out to us?" Because the film does explain who did it.
oh yeah, the film does. But, yeah, it does. But at this point, I was like, "Well, how's that happened? Who's cut it?" Like, I was instantly like, "Why? What? Why? Why is this
Dude, we're
happening?"
like
Why
I
is
want my
minutes into
answers
the
now.
movie.
I want my answers now.
We haven't even got to the opening credit sequence yet, and already you're like, "I need to know."
Exactly. I can't wait for this.
Visually, this looks really good. I think the effects work on the guy and the effects work on the person cut in half for a low budget independent picture are phenomenal.
Yeah, I have
really
no
good.
issues with any of it throughout. I think it all looks sublime, to be honest with you. I think every single thing they've done here looks visually, even the direction as well. The direction is pitch perfect, in my opinion. Practical effects works fantastic. So visually, I think this is a really, really solid standout movie.
Yeah.
What I really like about it visually as well, one of the things I've got on written down here is I like how they don't shy away from like this Argentinian landscape, where in movies like this, because, you know, like anybody that's seen this, and obviously, you know, this is why I've been really looking forward to doing this episode, because how do we do an episode and try and make it fun about one of the most like dark movies that of modern times? You know, that's the thing, and that's why it's so exciting to talk about movies like this. But what I like about it is when they do movies like this, when you're talking like visually and aesthetically, a lot of the time they like try and dumb down all the colors, desaturate it, bleach it, all that sort of stuff, because, you know, color really helps you know, helps you as a viewer understand the emotions that you're supposed to feel in. Like, you know, you don't have like you know, like it's like a lot of the Walking Dead, like you referenced earlier, a lot of that's all very like greys and desaturated and stuff, because it wants to give you that sort of stuff, or blues. Yeah. Whereas this, it doesn't do that. It's very like colourful, really saturated, and it does a really good job where it's,
isn't it?
yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't just go like, this is how you're meant to feel because of the colouring. We're just gonna, like, you know, this is the landscape is very much part of the story.
Yeah, and I think
that I noticed that was the most apparent is later on when he goes to his ex-wife's house. You expect that to be tonally saturated and stuff like that in order to make you feel a certain way, but it's not. It's a blistering hot Argentinian day, and it looks very colourful and bright. And I think that for me, what makes is, we're talking about the colours and stuff. I think for me that kind of puts me on edge a little bit more, because a lot of times with movies, as you say, they try and preempt a situation by setting it up either by the score or by the color palette in order to, like, oh, there's going to be a jump scare in a minute, or there's going to be this. You don't get any of that from here. It's just set so naturally, so that when the things do happen, it really does catch you off guard. And I think that's masterfully done, but in the opposite way that people try to fabricate it on such a false way, is because people try and replicate jump scares and things like that by, like you say, trying to make the color palette a certain way, or adding a score that makes you think, oh god, this is coming next. This does none of that stuff, and I think it works massively in its favor by doing so.
Jump scares and like the shock moments in this movie are truly shocking. The amount of times I went fuck in this movie is untold. The brother's toy was shooting the guy in the bed, and they're told not to use guns, and there's lots of loud Spanish arguing, and the little brother gets involved, and I think it's not Jamie, the other one whose name's escaped me. Pedro says like, yeah, he's like, get away from me, boy, or I'm going to hit you. It's like, it's a very angry scene.
They don't like kids in this movie.
No, they don't. They go to the police to report it because they're like, have you reported? She's like, yeah, I reported it months ago, but they've not done anything. I was so pleased to see that the police in Argentina are as useless and shit as the police in the UK.
And again, I think this is a really good scene as well, because what they do here is they set up that this is already a pre-established world, and there is such thing as these rottens that exist, and they're so common that even the police, when Jamie and Pedro go there and try and report this situation. They're like, oh, we get loads of false reports. It's probably fake. It's probably not even real. So we know how common this is within the area of these rottens. It's not just a one-time exorcist type kind of situation.
Yeah,
and that really made me excited to see where the story was going, because like straight away you're going, okay, well, like this is already pre-existing, and that was really exciting to me, because then and I say this all the time, but horror is at its best when it's unpredictable, and this film is definitely an unpredictable movie throughout. But it's like you go into this movie already, and it's already within the first 15-20 minutes you're already asking questions and shouting at your TV sometimes, going, well, what the fuck's going on? But it's great because it doesn't, you don't know if you're going to be told the answers to it. And obviously we all sort of know what happens in this movie, and we don't really get those answers, which to some people, like you said earlier, Scott, as well, some people, like, it might not work for them, and some people it does work for them. But already within like 15-20 minutes you're like, well, I ain't got a fucking clue what's going on.
Oh yeah, like at this point I've got so many questions about, like, this is pre-established. It's really bad in the cities. Like, what is bad? Like, all I've seen so far is just a guy laying in a bed. What's so bad about a guy laying in a bed? You're saying he's got a demon,
eating too many Big
he's
Macs.
not doing much. Yeah, he's just laying there eating donuts. Like, he's not hurting anyone. Like, all of these questions are swirling. I like the fact the police do nothing, and then the brothers head to go and meet the guy who owns the land, a guy called Ruiz. I think it needs pointing out now that Ruiz, Pedro, and Jamie are all fucking morons. From here on out, they make bad choices at every single opportunity.
The entire downfall of this entire story is Pedro's fault. The guy's a fucking idiot.
They're all
I
idiots,
think he's
all three of them.
He's pushed to the front as the protagonist, but he causes half the fucking issues in this movie with every decision he makes.
Well, I think it's like, because what I find really fascinating, and I'll go into this like a little bit more later and so on like that, but this film is essentially an inadverted redemption story. That's what this is. So like, this is a person and a character who has quite clearly done wrong in the past because of everything that happens and so on. He's quite clearly done wrong in the past. He's now trying to, looking for redemption. He's obviously trying to right his wrongs in a way. He sees that this might be a way of doing it, because he quite clearly, like, he's not a bad person. He shows in the movie that he's quite clearly a good person. He may have had a dodgy past, but he's very, he's a good person. And I see this movie as his chance of redemption. But like you say, the problem is every step of the way, he seems to be the unluckiest person that's ever existed.
He's not. He just makes terrible decisions, like really poor decisions against the advice of knowledgeable people, and he chooses to ignore them and do something reckless and stupid, like most people would in a Sylvester Stallone movie. That usually turns out well for them, but unfortunately, this film's a little bit more grounded, and that doesn't work out that way. One direction I thought it was going to take, which it never did, was his disappearance. And I thought, oh, well, he's familiar with the Rottens and stuff like that, so maybe he is like some sort of keeper, and he's like out there trying to salvage them and had to give up his family in order to do that. No, clearly this is his first experience with this shit, because he has no idea what the fuck he is doing.
No.
None whatsoever. Ruiz, I like Ruiz. Ruiz is the landowner. He's like, right, let's go up there. And he literally takes him straight up to the house. And he's like, right, I'm going to kill him. And again, you get the mum going, no, you can't do that. You'll make it 10 times worse. They make the decision to move him, and
with his pissy pants.
Yeah, and they try and lift him first off, and they're lifting him with the sheet, and I could see it coming. And they even reference it, they're like, is this sheet going to hold? And it's like, no, this sheet's not going to hold. And then he drops out on the floor. Like, this whole scene is just vile. Yes. Like, the sheet is soaked with sweat and piss and God knows what else. And they get him onto the back of the truck. But this scene takes ages. It's a really long scene. And I think it's really, really cool that they've done it.
Yeah, like you said, most most films would do away with this in a couple of scenes or a couple of quick succession shots, but you see the entire process of them trying to shift this abnormally large, bloated body, and it would be a big feat. And these are not small lads; it's 3 big blokes trying to shift it, and they're struggling.
Yeah. Yeah, your dog's amazing, VP. Like the snores are fabulous.
Yeah, I know, that's it. I feel like I need to have some sort of like music in the background of where I am.
Hold on, like
those headphones on as well. The bass in these are incredible.
There we go.
There we go. We just have that in the background. Ear snore over that. Sounds like a fucking porno.
Well, maybe a tease for our game later. They load him onto the truck and they head out of town. The kid on the road scared the shit out of me. Like that kid, like they're driving down and they're having a heated argument about how far they take him off the land. And there's this kid in the middle of the road comes out of nowhere, and they swerve and then they swerve back in. How did they not hear Fat Boy bounce out and bounce down the road? Like he tore half the truck off when he came out.
Also, as well, it did look like when they were driving, like that there was like a thing over top of the back of the truck that was going to keep him in. Like it didn't look like an open top back. And I swear when they're driving, there's a shot where it was like covered. So I still sort of don't understand how he sort of went out of it. But I mean, it's a movie; they'll find a way.
Yeah, I mean the tailgate was closed, and the tailgate was closed when they pull up. I think, if I remember rightly.
Maybe he's just got like extra buoyancy.
I mean, he's possessed. Maybe he jumped out.
He's like a mad bull bopping around everywhere.
Your logic there, Mark. You're one step away from saying film's got a film.
Well, we're not quite there yet. I may have to pull that card at some point on this episode, though.
When they realise he's bounced out, like they stop and they're already like 20 miles down the road, and Ruiz cracks me up. He's like, fuck it, it's far enough. Like he's got no intention of going back and getting him. He's like, no, it's fine. That'll do. We'll just leave him there.
But again, morally, they've already made the worst decision they can make because they've just made it somebody else's problem. They haven't taken it away from the property to try and rid the demon and cleanse it, if you will. They've taken it to dump it somewhere else away from their own land in order to preserve what they have. And
especially this Ruiz guy, because he's like the guy they go to be like, do you know more about it? Tell us more about it, in a way like near the start where they go to his farm and he's like telling them a bit more about it. And then he seems to understand the threat a little bit more, but then he's just like, nah, fuck it. Just leave him. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, it's my land. I'm not giving it up. Let's make it somebody else's problem. And that was their intention the whole way along. They were just going to pick the body up, put it in the truck, drive it far enough away that it wasn't their issue, and then drive back, which is terrible.
I don't know. It seems pretty fucking logical to me, if I'm being honest. The next day, Ruiz's wife is in the garden and she's pregnant. She screams, and we see Ruiz come out. And it took me a couple of minutes to work out what was going on here. She's pointing at a herd of goats and screaming blue murder. And it's because one of the goats is possessed. Like, this concept of the demons can possess anything, I think is incredible, because that adds a whole new level of danger. Like, you don't just need to worry about people being possessed. Your dog, your cat, your goat, whatever, the demons can get in them as well. Ruiz putting the shotgun to the goat's head and the goat pushing his head against the shotgun made me laugh. It's almost like the goat's like, go on, I dare you.
Yeah,
but again,
I love that.
Ruiz makes some ridiculous decision here as well, because he knows, or at least, and us as an audience by now, they've said it that many times within the first 15 minutes of this movie, you cannot kill it with gunfire. Gunfire will only cause a spread. So, and make things a hell of a lot worse. And he's got a gun to his head, and he's like, his wife screaming at him, "Don't shoot it!"
And she's pregnant.
Kill it with a gun. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm pregnant. This is our land. You're condemning us both. You're condemning us all. What are you doing?" And then he pulls the fucking trigger, man, and it's graphic as hell. You just see
poor goat. I felt so sorry for him.
Yeah,
it's not a good goat, though.
He's just a bad goat. Ruiz does get his comeuppance instantly, though. He kills the goat, and his wife takes him out straight away.
Like straight away, as soon as he pulls the trigger, bang, slam in the head with an axe.
Yeah,
This was the moment that I was like massively into this movie, because like I was already really enjoying it, and like I said, like unpredictable horror is my favorite, but it's you see things like this happen in movies, but it's the instant of the violence that is immediate. That's what like is so good about this movie, where it was literally he shoots the goat, he gets an axe to the face, and then obviously what happens next is she then puts the axe into her own face, and you do not expect it. And it when you start thinking about afterwards, it's like the extra, because this is what this film does. It makes you think, and you can't not think about this film once you finish watching it, because then you start thinking at the depths of the darkness of the movie. Like you're like, oh shit, she just axed her face in. But then after that, then you're like, oh hang on, no, because she's just killed herself, which means a kid inside of her, and you know that's now happened, and so on. So everything sort of has a reaction in this movie because of everything. But then like the way that your mind reacts to it is, or my mind, because I'm not very clever, but it always takes that extra step further to go, okay, well now this has got even darker the more I think about it. But it's just the instant violence that you get. Like there's no, like, it doesn't up it and up it. It's just straight away in your face. You're not going to expect this, and you're not going to expect it at the level that it happens. And I love it so much.
Yeah. I do. It just came as such a surprise to me. One thing I want to ask you guys though is, she obviously turns the axe on herself and puts it into her own face. Is she possessed at this point? Is she immediately, has it left the goat into the guy, he's died, and it's gone into her? Is that how?
So there's two ways of reading it, and I honestly, like a lot of things in this movie, I don't know, because if she's possessed, then she probably, because the more I think, if she's possessed, she wouldn't probably kill herself, because she's possessed. Their goal isn't to kill themselves. Their goal is to live. You know what I mean? Like as a possession, they're not, as far as I'm aware, their position isn't to kill themselves. So I feel that, because we got the scene like you were saying where she's panicking because she's like, look, if you do this, you know, if you damn yourself, you've damned everyone, you know. And he does it.
This was just a mercy kill for them both.
I feel that it was like, it's like, once again, it's those dark levels that it takes it to, where I genuinely believe that it was like, well, we're fucked now. She told him that they were fucked. And now that's why she was so panicky, because she was just like, well, if you do this, then this isn't going to end well. And it doesn't. So I first thought, yeah, I think she's possessed. But the more I started thinking about it, like you're saying, I feel that it's a case of, I don't want this to happen to my child. I'm going to do this to myself. And that's...
I'm with you.
So that
was my stance on it. That's why I wanted to kind of clarify it, is because I didn't feel for 1 second that it had skipped immediately from him to her, and then she turned it on herself. I thought it was more a case of her sheer fright and panic and fear, that she was trying to contain the situation, and that she thought if she killed him and then killed herself, that would contain the spread of the rotten.
But
to do that makes it 10 times worse, because she's not possessed and she's managed to brutally hit herself numerous times.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
I think
she hasn't even got a gun, nothing. She's just like, how do I do it? I've got to do this instantly, because we know what happens. I've just got to take an axe to my own face. And it's so violent, and it's so visually, takes you back a little bit, because you're like, oh, fuck. But how cool is the idea that it can do this? That's what I love about the ideas that this movie puts out there, that the idea that it can just do this. It can just go from body to body instantly. Like if it was a case that she was possessed, it goes from the goat to him or whatever, or it goes from the goat to her. She does these things. It's just such a cool idea, because then you're, once again, it plays with that unpredictability where you're like, oh, well, which character is it going to go to next? And it's so exciting.
I think the lack of exposition massively works in its favor for that, for not explaining and not giving enough clarity on how this process works. Sparks conversations like this, which is why I like movies such as this in the first place, is because you can have those conversations and negotiate them and get different perspectives on what you perceive it as because it doesn't spell it out for you in the movie.
No,
And we don't get that very often in horror.
No, we don't.
Not these days.
From here, the movie gathers serious pace. Like this middle section of the movie is phenomenal. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed from here through to when we get to Murta's house later. Like this middle section is just horror gold. Every beat is perfect. Everything that we're going to describe in the next couple of minutes is as good as a horror movie can get.
Perfect.
Yeah, we get Jamie goes off to go and collect their mother. And Pedro heads to go and visit his ex-wife with the plan to get her a new husband, the kids, and her kid with her ex-husband, and all leave town because that's the only solution he can come up with. His visit is not well received by his ex-wife Sabrina, or her new husband Leonardo, who's really not sold on the idea either. He's trying to.
He's a fucking buffoon, that guy. He ain't got a fucking clue, is he?
No, he's like. There's a bit where
I would have lamped him one. Don't come in my house.
Yeah, say. There's a bit where
I mean, the guy has been missing for like I can't remember the time they say he's been missing, but this is the first time he has shown up in however long it is. I mean, she's got a new husband and a child with him,
and a kid, yeah,
his daughter, and she must be about 4. So it's been at least 5 years since anybody has been around. And this is the first time he's knocking on their door. I'd be like, who the fuck do you think you are, man?
Get him my fucking house.
He knocks on the door and then he like barges his way in and then strips bollock naked. And this did make me chuckle because the husband's like, what are you doing? Why are you naked? Why are you naked? And then he calls his wife.
Put your balls away.
Walks in and goes, yeah, his wife comes in and goes, oh, fuck, have you been drinking again? It's like, okay. Yeah.
In a way, I kind of get the husband's sort of concern because, like, he's clearly unhinged at this moment. Like, there's no cause for alarm or threat for this family, and he's just come in, stripped bollock naked. He's talking absolute gibberish as far as they're concerned.
And the second you see the dog, that's when you know. And then that's
what
when.
The dog doing?
Oh, really?
I didn't know. I didn't.
Oh, really? The second I saw the dog. And the second he goes near his clothes, I literally felt myself sit back in my chair because I was just like, okay, well, let's see where this goes because I've already seen what it can do. I know something's going to happen. I want to see what happens, and then you're still not prepared.
No, again, I didn't get to there from that. Sorry, go on, Scott.
I think it's a perfect time to. It's a perfect time to ask the question.
What the dog doing?
The dog's a lovely dog. I'm going to say it now. That is a gorgeous dog. And it's well behaved. Like all this shouting and screaming and chaos, and the dog's just sort of sat there, and it's sat there with the little girl, and the little girl's stroking its chin, and it's nice and happy, and it's licking her fingers. And what happened next blew me away. I did not see it coming. It caught me completely off guard. Like all of a sudden, the dog just turns, rips her face off, not satisfied with that, then rags this poor girl around like a chew toy on the ground, and then runs out the door, dragging her by her neck. I was sat there with my jaw on the floor, like, fuck.
She was like a crash test dummy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awful. And one thing I know we're hitting hard on the husband right now of how much of a pillock he is, but his reaction in this situation, I genuinely bought into. I was like, man, I feel the genuine horror in your voice and in your cadence as you're screaming for your child. Seeing this and seeing his reaction to it felt so authentic to me. I was like, man, I have a daughter as well, so like, it's really hard for me. She's around the similar age as what Vicky is in this movie, and it's like, God, this is just fucking so close to home for me. It's brutal.
Yeah,
when you have a kid and you watch horror, it's tough.
Yeah,
it is.
It really is, and this cocked something up for me. So I sat and watched this with Lisa, and I didn't know this was coming. Lisa didn't know this was coming, and I sat there going, oh, that's a lovely dog. I think when the kids are all grown up or we've got a bit more space, we could have a dog like that. And then the dog done that. And she looked at me, I was like, I was like, well, maybe not. Maybe we'll park that. Maybe that's not happening. I was like, fuck it.
Well, just get yourself a pug dog because all they do is snore during fucking podcasts.
Leonardo and Pedro chase after the dog. Leonardo catches up with it and he shoots it. And this is brilliant. This is one of the cleverest things they've done in this movie. As soon as he shoots the dog, Pedro's instantly out. He's got no intention of helping Leonardo. He just spins around. He goes back to the house to go and pick up his two sons and get going. When he gets back, the little girl is there without a scratch. And
right, now this is just one thing that I'm going to call bullshit on right now, because I know they don't explain a hell of a lot throughout this movie, but one thing that we are very clear on is that injuries received are consistent, as we see later on with the mother. She's back, but she's still covered in the same wounds she gets from the next scene. The daughter comes back without a scratch on her, and I don't know whether they did this because they didn't want to show the child covered in bloody makeup. They maybe thought that was a little bit of a step too far. But for me, I feel like given everything that's come before it, they really should have just committed to it here and just showed her. They didn't need to be like a face hanging off or anything like that, but just maybe a few marks of blood and a few scratches on her neck or something would have satisfied me enough. But to me, it just felt like they didn't quite want to commit to showing that side of it. And it felt like it compromised the scene a bit for me, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. I keep on trying to find ways of making excuses for the movie itself, because I keep on trying to think as to why, from a movie standpoint, why they chose to do that, like you're saying, you know. But I don't know, like, even to the point where I like start making up things and I keep looking forward in the movie and then going on the scenes when there are kids later on. And I'm like, okay, well, they're not all like that messed up. So I don't know whether it's like something where it can't affect the kids in the same way as it does adults.
I don't think it's that, because I think it's just a general sort of, they don't have rejuvenation powers, and she's not a figment of her imagination. It's the living body of the child, and she's healed like Wolverine back in this scene. And I think it more just comes down to the fact that the company or the producers of the movie didn't want to fully commit to showing the aftermath of that scene on screen of her. And I get it, and it works in the context of the movie, her coming back, because it makes everything feel a lot more suspenseful. But after multiple watches now, that scene always stands out to me as, you really should have committed there a little bit more.
Yeah, see, again, this is where I start to, like, these things like this is where I have issues, where I don't understand and I have to make the leaps in logic. Like, there could be a very good explanation that the demons can rejuvenate and they just choose not to because they're more of a hindrance when they're covered in blood or whatever. In this instance, the child being normal and being able to go up to Sabrina and then whisper in her ear, "You're going to die," is more effective with her not injured than if she come back all mangled. Like, there's lots of different ways it could be done, but they don't explain any of them. I think now's a good time to talk about Pedro's kids. So we've got Santino, who's about 8, and we've got Jer, who's a teenager. He's also autistic, and I would imagine he's somewhere on the far end of the autistic spectrum.
He's mute.
Not,
he's
mute,
non-verbal.
Yeah, non-verbal completely. He gets very distressed very easily. And I'll be honest, he is not the ideal candidate to face a zombie/demon apocalypse. He is not the guy that you want to be sort of having to take with you, because like there's a bit where he's trying to get him out of bed, and just getting him out of bed is like the hardest thing in the world. And instantly I felt for Pedro. I was like, you're fucked. Like, whatever comes now, you are absolutely fucked, because you're not going to be able to get Jared to keep quiet. You're not going to be able to get him to do whatever you need him to do, because he's just not going to comply. He's not wired that way. And like instantly, this upped the threat level of everything for me. Like having Jer. Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Also, just give props to the actor who plays Jer. He's fucking phenomenal to be able to carry off such an authentic performance like he does as someone who is so heavily autistic.
Yeah,
he's fucking brilliant.
He's fucking.
And what I like,
he plays. He's such a key element to some of the vital scenes later on. and like
Yeah.
the switches and stuff like that, how he can turn it on and off like he does. I'm like, that you are a very talented actor, man. That was so cool.
And what I like about this is that it, once again, it's like, it feels like it's this part of like the redemption for that Pedro feels like he's on, for me. Like he's made all these mistakes by doing what he does, but he's still trying to be a good man in a way. He knows the problems and he knows the mistakes that he's made in the past that we don't know about, we haven't seen. But he also seems to fit, like, even though he hasn't been around, he still feels like he has this connection with Jer as well. And he has this, you know, still has this fatherly love, you know, it's still his kid and stuff. But it feels like, I don't know, there's little bits in those scenes that feels like even the mother, I've done a thumbs up. Even the mother, it feels like she doesn't even get Jer, so to speak. It's like the dad, feels like he's the one that understands it. He's the one that's like, talks about the drawing, talks about getting the apple ice cream. So there's definitely, I really like that, where there's a connection between the father and son. But once again, it's all about him knowing that he hasn't been there when he needs to be. And that happens quite a lot in the movie, where he feels like, I should have probably been there when I wasn't, or couldn't be.
Yeah. And the thing is, as well, with this in particular, is like, he brought all this onto this family. Like, had he have just left?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't, again, it's difficult to like criticize it for that, because we don't know enough about the lore of this movie. Would this inevitable outbreak have unfolded within this community, regardless of whether they stayed or whether they left? I mean, it might not have hit his family as close to home so quickly as it did, but would,
and you also have to think about the human element
after killing the goat, would that have still continued to spare on the spread? And because it's all, as we find out later on, that Uriel is a key part in it, and because he still wasn't rid of completely, does that ripple effect continue on until X amount of time? I mean, we don't know all of these things, but instantly watching it the first time round, I was like, Pedro, you're such a dick. Like, had you not gone here, Vicky would still be alive, her husband would still be alive, your ex-wife would have still been alive. You've caused all of this. And it's like, it's difficult to empathize with him as a character when you've got so many factors that fall upon his shoulders for why these events are occurring.
Yeah, and like Jer finds the car keys. Jer's really good at finding car keys, by the way.
He's really good.
Pedro searched for fucking ages, and he's like, looks at Jer, he's like, car keys. I need the car keys. And Jer's like, just points, like they're there. They're like right by your head. They've been there for ages.
He'd do anything for apple ice cream.
Yeah, he would. He steals his ex-wife's car, and as they're pulling out, like again, did not see this coming. So earlier, the little girl says to Sabrina, Daddy's going to kill you. And then
she doesn't just say that, she tells exactly, and I'm with you, I didn't see it coming either, but the little girl literally says, Daddy's going to come home in the car and he's going to do boom and kill you. Yeah. And like does that with her hands and shows the car smashing into her. I'm like, yeah, all right then. And then when it happens, my mind was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, because
and also I think that moment is really important for the end of the movie, and I'll explain why later as well.
I'll remember that then in case we forget to come back to it, because I would like to know how that ties into the end, just in case we don't get there.
I like this because it's it's the bit where you've got Santino going, what was that big bang? And Pedro's like, nothing. Keep looking forward. Keep driving. Don't worry. We're on our way. We're going to get apple ice cream. This is going to be amazing. They drive and they go and meet Jamie, who's picked up Grandma, and they head out of the town to go and get ice cream. They stop at a gas station which doesn't have apple ice cream, which causes Jer to groan continuously. And this scene is so powerful, where they've got no money, they've got nowhere to go. Jer's having like an absolute meltdown, and it's like this constant noise. And Pedro just walks away and goes and sits down, and he's on the brink of having a nervous breakdown. And it's his brother that snaps him out of it. It's like, look, you need to get your shit together. You've got your kids in the car. You've got mum in the car. You're scaring the shit out of them. I know somewhere we can go where they'll lend us some money and we can get out of here. And they'll also have apple ice cream. Now fucking get your shit together. This has got to stop. And
well, his breakdown stems from he gets a phone call from his ex-wife.
Yeah.
Begging him to bring the kids home. And then that's when she turns and we start to learn a little bit more about Pedro, and she's like calling him basically like a very typical scene in like you'd get in a possession movie where she starts revealing some of his darkest secrets and starts really insulting him and calling him out for being like a pathetic excuse of a man and all this, that, and the other. And it's after he gets off to the phone to her that he breaks down, and Jamie's like, "Oh, what's going on? Is Sabrina okay?" And he's like, "That wasn't Sabrina. She's dead. I watched her die."
Also, as well as that,
so many confusing elements to this movie, but we kind of get brief exposition up until this point, because when they pick up Grandma, she does that whole stereotypical.
These are the rules,
meant in an offensive way whatsoever, but like gypsy woman law, where she starts explaining everything from past time cultures and things like that, and she seems to know a lot more, and almost she explains it almost as in like a folklore fairy tale way, like these are the rules of surviving Zombieland, basically.
I mean, what do we think of the rules? So the rules are: don't use electric lights, the shadows they cast, draw them in, stay away from animals, do them no harm, take nothing that belonged to them as they're attached to it, never say the devil's name, which cracked me up because she then proceeded to rattle off multiple names for the devil. Good job, Granny.
and then Jer says it. Jer says Azrael. So is it her fault? Because it's what goes into him. So when she says Azrael and she's going through the names, the last moment in that thing after she says it all, Jer says Azrael.
He does, which is cool as fuck.
Never use or you'll die yourself, and do not fear death. Like, I'm on board for all of these rules. They all work for me, especially in a demonic setting. All of these rules are not too far away from things that you'll be told in like Catholicism. Like Catholic beliefs around possession is like you need to keep things brightly lit, but it's like all of they've taken elements of things that are in what I'd class as real possessions and crafted their rules around them, and I thought they were really, really clever. Like,
what is the stereotypical religion in Spain and Argentina? Is it majority Catholic? Yeah, it is a Catholic.
Argentina is heavily Catholic as far as I'm aware. Someone feel free to correct me if you are listening in Argentina and you are Buddhist or Muslim or something else.
Well, I'm assuming there are other religions there, but I just mean the vast majority of the culture within Argentina is Catholic.
They are Catholic. I like the rules. I like the rules. They're a little bit hokey, but that kind of works for this sort of movie. I mean, you're mixing zombies and demonic possession together in a very brutal way. You need something that's a little bit quirky to fit with that. You couldn't have like cast iron rules. These rules are very easy to bend and play with. These rules a little bit. They're not, if you do this happens. They're very, you can't use lights because it will cast shadows, but you can use a candle. That's fine. Like there's elements to this that are bendable to make it work, and I think that works for this movie. They arrive at Myrta's house. Now, Myrta is basically the female Argentinian John Constantine. She's just not as cool, and she's nowhere near as fucking effective. Like, nowhere near as effective as John. Myrta warns Jamie that Jer is showing signs of possession, like, as soon as they arrive. And Jamie's like, nah, he's autistic. Like, that's just how he is. Don't worry about it. Now, they're forced to stay. So Myrta was going to lend them some money, but the bank's closed, so they need to wait until the morning. This whole, like, the way they do the sleeping arrangements, I think is really cool. So Jer won't get out of the car, which fits with his autism. Like, it's somewhere strange. He doesn't want to be somewhere strange. So Grandma's in with Jer, and then Grandma and Pedro swap over. She goes in, and she's in with Sebastian. No, not Sebastian. What's his name? The other boy.
Yeah,
Santino.
I just want to pull you back slightly before you go a bit further. The segment where she goes up to the car and spots that he's autistic, and He's like, oh no, he's like that all the time. It does develop a little bit further, and she's like, no, look at his hands and look at his feet. This is positive signs of somebody who is possessed. And oftentimes, when somebody who suffers with autism and is at the hands of a possession, the demon doesn't know how to negotiate its way through an autistic mind
with their brain,
and finds itself trapped and contained within it for long periods of time because it cannot figure out how to basically control the body the same way it can with a normal person due to the blockades and the maze the way they describe it in the film is fucking brilliant, and it adds so many layers to this movie in doing so. So I just wanted to pull you back a little bit on that, because I feel like it's a really cool element that they add to it.
I completely agree, because it's such a cool idea, because they're essentially saying that even though it can possess people, it doesn't. It's like a locked brain. It doesn't understand the brain, so it can't get into it. And I'm with you. When I heard that, I thought that's such an interesting idea, one that I've not really heard before, where there's still something within the human body, like a brain, that even a demon, anything that tries possession people, like it still can't figure out. But also, this is another example of the film making me think more afterwards, because like you were saying, Scott, as well, where it makes sense for Jared to be sort of in the car because of his autism, and it's a safe place for him and so on, and he's there with his dad and that. But also then I start to thinking to myself, well, if he is possessed because he's then now spoken the name of Azrael, then maybe he's staying in the car because he doesn't want to go in the house with Constantine.
Yeah.
So
again, you could look at it from two ways as well. Because of his autistic brain, is he having a battle within himself? Is he trying to contain it in a way, you know? And I just think it adds so many layers by just touching on something so simple and so obvious in a way that no other horror movie I've seen that handles this type of stuff before has done. And it just had me thinking so long after this movie because of the simplistic level of adding to it. It does, and I was like, it's cool as shit, man. I was like, that is really really clever.
Yeah, and you've got Grandma and Santino are sleeping upstairs in the house, and we get another demonic attack as Sabrina arrives and kidnaps Santino, leaping from the window and running off into the fields. Like, this was like shit. And I thought this was cool. I love the fact that Grandma just comes downstairs like, someone's up there and they took Santino and I don't know what to do. I didn't try and stop them. I just left.
Well, she was like off her nut, wasn't she? She's done something.
She's like, when Sabrina walks into the room, she's like, oh, Sabrina, I'm so glad you're here. I've taken one too many sleeping pills.
And her face is like,
oh, you can't see my manky face.
She's looking like the woman from Pet Sematary.
From here, this is where the logic starts to fall apart for me a little bit. So we're all dads. All three of us have children.
Yep.
There is no way in the fucking world I would have gone with Murta to go and find the original possessed fat boy and not go and look for my child who'd just been spirited away into the woods. Like, there's not in a billion years.
There isn't. In this aspect, I think it worked for me because what Pedro does and what he comes to the conclusion of is he's not going to find Sabrina, so he sends Jamie to go and find her for him while he goes after it's like kill the head vampire, kill the lot. So he's thinking if he can do the hero mission and kill the head vampire, he can kill the curse before Sabrina does anything untoward towards his child. So he's kind of had he's come at a crossroads with himself, and he's like, right, which one am I going to be more successful in? Am I going to go searching in these 100-acre woods and find Winnie the Pooh, or am I going to go and try and take out the head vampire and shut this shit down where they kind of know that that's where he's going to be because they know where he fell out the back of the truck. So for me, yes, I get what you're saying. I'm the same. I'd be like, no, fuck that. I'm going after my kid. But I kind of understand why Pedro was like, no, if I take that out, I can end this quicker rather than spending days trying to search these woods.
Yeah,
it's like you were saying. It's about sorry, Scott. Go on.
No, you go.
I was just going to say it's like sort of what you're saying, where like I'm with both of you exactly as well. Like as a father, what do? Do you think about the immediate and saying, I need to get my son back or my daughter back and whoever and go on that mission? Or do you look at the greater good? Do you look at that? What's the next step that we take? Do I think about myself in this moment and my kid, or do I think about the bigger picture? And I like the fact that it feels like he's got somebody that he can trust, and he can trust his brother to do that for him. So I feel like it's a difficult one, because if he was on his own, and if I was in this situation, if I'm on my own, then I'm going after my kid. But if you've got somebody that you love, that you trust, that you feel is going to go above and beyond and do everything they can to get your child back, it's a difficult situation to be in, and where you think about it. And they play that, once again, they play that perfectly. And for the movie, it's the right decision. But morally, in the real world, you're like, I don't know.
They do, but I don't necessarily agree that it is a case of him thinking of the greater good, because they don't set his character up to have that kind of arc. I don't feel like him going after the head vampire is... I keep saying head vampire, but I feel like people will understand a little bit better if that's what I go with. I don't feel like he's going after that to do the greater good. I still feel like he has his son's interest at heart. So I feel like once again, he's going after the end goal for selfish reasons, and not because he's worried about other people.
Yeah. See, what I love about this is that I love how we've got two completely different perspectives of the same character. I love the fact that we have it, because for me, the whole story for him is he's just on this complete redemption arc where he realizes that this is, he's created his life that he's created. He's done these things that he's done, and this is like he's like, look, these are my kids. This is the right thing to do. I've got to go and do this. And it, for me, like the different points in the movie is like where he's trying to do the right thing, but it messes up. Whereas you see him as like a fucking idiot.
He's just a bumbling idiot who's fallen into the wrong situation. He's just having a really fucking bad day.
And that's the worst day.
Yeah, and that's why movies like this are so good, because they make you think of different things.
I agree. Yeah, I completely agree with you on that.
Like they go with the plan. So Pedro goes off with Constantine Argentina, and they go off to go and find the big bad demon. And Jamie goes to look for Sabrina. It doesn't take him long to find Sabrina, and this is horrific. So he finds Sabrina strolling along the road. You described it well before we started recording, Mark, so I'm going to let you use that analogy again because it made me chuckle.
Yeah, so Jamie's driving down the road and he drives past Sabrina holding something in her hands. He pulls up at the side of the road, turns all the lights off and waits for her to walk past the car, trying to hide so he can kind of get a little bit more perspective of what's going on. As Sabrina comes closer and closer from the distance, you start to see that she's holding the son, which I can't remember his name.
Santino.
She's holding Santino in her arms like a baby, if you will, or at least that's how it's perceived from the silhouette as she's getting closer. The closer and closer she gets to the car, you actually see her walk past the car, and she is eating Santino's head like it's a bucket of popcorn and eating his brains handful at a time. And this is, for all the shocking things that happen in this movie, this was the one that kind of caught me off guard the most, because there's not necessarily any motive behind why she's done what she's done. It's not a case of the spread of the possession, and they're not necessarily zombies. So I don't understand why she would go on this excessively long journey to get Santino back, only for her to kill him and eat his brains moments later. And it's like, a lot of movies like this would focus in on this being an attack on Pedro. She's doing this to get back at Pedro and make him suffer. But it doesn't feel like his character's purposeful enough and has a strong enough connection with the demon for it to feel like it's an attack on him. So this particular death for Santino felt just jarring to me. I get that it was shock value and it had a mass effect throughout the movie, because you're like, oh my God, holy shit.
Yeah.
After multiple watches and trying to piece it all together, the logic behind it, this one was just one of those ones where I was like, but why?
Yeah, see, I'm kind of the same. And like, I got more shock value, not from the brain eating. I got more shock value from Jamie's reaction, where Jamie just basically spins the car around and fucking flattens her into a tree. Like that was more shocking to me, that it pushed him to the point where he's like, you've got to die. I know that you're a demon, and I know doing this is going to fuck me up, but I can't. It's almost like I can't let that go. I know I should. I know I shouldn't do anything because it's going to be bad, but you're going to die. And he just absolutely demolishes her with the car.
But it doesn't do anything
And
bad.
also-
He didn't use a gun. It's the
No, it's
guns
true.
that make it bad for the person who's done it. But at the same sense, like, what was it? What when he hits Sabrina with the car and her face is all like mangled, sort of like Terrifier 2-level graphics against the screen.
You
what
said you
is it
loved
that
me.
She says, yes, that was it. And I was like,
Because-
have you been having
Because
an
this
affair
hints
with
at
your
the
brother's
affair.
wife?
Yeah. So this
Yeah.
hints at the affair.
Yeah, because she
That
said
was cool.
earlier on
Again,
when she
again,
was,
it's
yeah,
another
Yeah, 'cause
subtle
she said
level
on
of
the-
like storytelling that didn't need to be there. And I was like, oh man, what the fuck? You've been sleeping with your brother's wife. And it was one of those things where it's like there's so many shocking things. Even just a simple throwaway comment like this, I was like, oh, you fucking dog.
yeah,
Yeah. And then once again, it leads into the layers of the characters within this movie, because is it this guilt through Pedro's brother? I always forget his name. Jamie. Is it Jamie? I can't,
Yeah,
or something
Jamie.
like
Why
that.
does he
But
still hang
yeah,
around with Pedro? Why is he still lingering on?
exactly,
It's
because
his guilt,
of
he's been
yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's why
yeah,
his
man, yeah.
loyalty is there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I never
and
thought about that. That's cool.
Yeah, and it all ties back to that call when Sabrina called Pedro when she was possessed. She's like, I was fucking everyone and people closer to you than you'd ever realize. Like she told him.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
not even like she almost flat out said, I fucked your brother. And it's a really cool callback, and it ties it all together.
I
What
can't believe
come
I
next?
didn't pick up on that.
What come next is arguably the best bit of the movie for me. So Granny sat in the house, and Jer comes like casually strolling in, like nothing wrong with him. Hi, Grandma. I'm hungry. I'm a little cold. Puts like a shawl over his shoulders. Would you make me something to eat? And there's nothing wrong with him. And her, like, there's no signs of the autism. Like he's fully like mobile, which he hasn't been. He's got no tics. He's like, he just walks in like nothing is wrong.
And that
And
to
I
me
love-
is perfect storytelling.
Yeah, and a quality of actor, because I genuinely thought that this actor had some level of autism until this scene. And when he walked in, I was like, fuck, you are a special little actor. Like, this is amazing.
The glance
So
at the
good.
end. The glance at the end is.
Oh,
is
don't
something
even.
that's
We'll
stayed
get
with
to
me.
that. You
We'll
wait till
get
we get
to
there.
it. I know. I had to jump the gun a
Man,
little bit because we're talking about how
literally.
good he is. But when we get there, man, it's that.
I mean, that's the
look, and
best
I'm
shot
like,
of the movie. That's
It
it.
is. It is. Yeah.
But
I
what I
think
love
we've
about
ruined
that
it now.
scene,
I'm
as I said,
sorry.
it was that scene, the storytelling in that scene, because they've already set it up. They've already turned around and said that it's got, it finds it so difficult to unlock a brain of somebody that's autistic or somebody with disabilities and so on like that. It finds it difficult. The fact that at that moment we know and she knows that he's possessed. It's like, I remember sitting there, and this is one of those movies that I find myself smiling while I'm watching it, and I catch myself smiling while I'm watching it. I probably look like a fucking mental to other people, but I catch myself smiling when I'm watching it, because I'm like, what great storytelling that is. Because at that moment we know that she's fucked. And at that moment, we know that she knows that something,
She's fucked.
is wrong. And she's fucked. And like you said earlier, Mark, as well, there's so many little things in this movie that add upon the layers upon the layers. The craftsmanship in every single aspect of this movie is unbelievably good. And there's so many little moments in this movie, just like that it's like a payoff, but in the worst possible way. Like, it's not like a payoff where you're like, he's got his kid and everything's good. It's a payoff, but in the darkest sense, because everybody's fucked.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's it. Like, they know it as well. Even the writers themselves know how good this moment is, because a standard horror movie that follows typical tropes as such would have shown him killing the grandma.
Yeah.
But they know they don't need to do that. They don't need to do that, because they've set everything up so perfectly up until this point that they just have him walk in casually, and then they cut to black and move to the next scene, because we as an audience know exactly how that's going to play out based on everything we've seen from from what's happened before. And I just think that's brilliant.
It is really good. And when they cut to the next scene, this is just like what comes here is just like I was almost screaming at the screen for how stupid Pedro is. So they track down Azrael or Ariel, and he is held up in a school, and he's got an army of children. No, he's not got an army. He's got about 10 little kids that are also kind of half possessed. And one of these
they all
kids
look like they're in a My Chemical Romance video.
They very much do.
The hell of a video, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the kids basically says that he's here and he's under the stage in the school. Now, they go into the school and you get Pedro starts ripping up the floorboards as Myrta's setting up her demon busting / telescope equipment. And all the kids are going, there's an axe in the janitor's office. There's an axe in the janitor's office. And Myrta's going, there's not an axe there. Just keep ripping the floorboards up. There's not an axe. They're tricking you. Don't do it. And all of a sudden he just goes, I believe these creepy little kids that are obviously possessed, and I'm going to ignore the one person who knows what's going on, and runs to the janitor's office where he's instantly locked inside. And these kids just descend on Myrta and kill her.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, this decision that he makes here is so fucking stupid because they've lied to him so many times already by telling him that Uriel is in the town. When he's not, he's inside the school that they're at, and they're trying to deflect and get him to go into the town to try and find the body before they ultimately decide, no, he's definitely here. We need to go back inside this school. There is some exposition here that I knew I should have written down regarding the effects that it has on the children, especially, and how they're like slaves to Uriel or the unborn demon baby that's inside Uriel.
It's the fact that evil is drawn to children and children are drawn to evil.
Drawn to evil, yeah.
Right, because then also Uriel's buried under the school hall stage, covered in the bodies of the teachers' parents, covered in lime to try and discard the smell. There's a lot going on here that it's easily. I think you need a lot of watches, and especially in this scene at the end, because I feel like there's a lot of meat on the bones here to dissect, and they gloss over quite a lot of it quickly. I mean, they don't miss out on anything; it's all there for you to get, but it's just when you're reading and watching at the same time when it happens in quick succession.
This moment in the movie is this moment is the moment in the movie that let me down the most because there was too much of non-clarity. Like it's fine when we're finding out all these little things, or it's saying like this is what happened in the past, and you're like, okay, well that was the past. We might find out, we might not, but it's interesting. This part here wasn't all that interesting because it was asking questions of me as a viewer that it wasn't necessarily answering in the best way. And I don't even necessarily really understand this apparatus thing that she's got as well. That's one of the only sort of decisions that I think they could have maybe done something a little bit different. Like, part of me sort of feels at that moment they'd have fallen back into a potential classic horror trope by simplifying it, rather than trying to make it a little bit more so overcomplicated that you're asking more questions of it than going, I understand it and this is why they're doing it. This is where the only moment in this movie where I was like, okay, maybe a different option should have been taken.
Yeah, I mean, the prime example with her equipment is it's complicated. It's taking her ages to set up, and it looks really old, and it's gold, and it's all these sort of things. Like, you could achieve the same effect by having a fucking mirror and a candle. Like, you could just have her setting up or anything, like anything that isn't as complicated that, like, instantly I'm asking questions about what this equipment is. What is it? What does it do?
Sort of astronomy equipment, and it's like you need to align the stars and the moon in order to.
And it's got to go into his whatever.
Yeah, and yes. I don't necessarily take issue with the setting up of the apparatus and the involvement of the apparatus because we know it's a pivotal thing to get rid of the possessed, because the huntsman who is coming after Uriel at the beginning, when they find his half body in the woods, he's also carrying the same apparatus that she has at the end. So we know this is the key in essence as what they need to do to clear it. My issue with this particular scene is purely based on the fact that there is more information dumped within 5 minutes of this movie here than there is in the entire movie. And every time we get an information dump throughout, we have sort of a gestation period where we can process that, or we can bounce ideas back and forth around our head of what they're doing. But I feel like here there's so much that happens so quickly, and so much sort of nudging in what direction this is going, or what ideas are trying to present, that you don't have enough time to process any of them, because you've still got so many mixed emotions and so many ideas floating around regarding what's been set up prior to it. So if you're thinking that this is going to go in a certain way based on your own perception up until this point, when you get all this information dumped, you're trying to tie all of these ideas into where you're with the movie at this point, because it is so open, and it is a perception thing, and it is, well, I think it's happening this way. I mean, we've been on here for an hour now, and we've been talking so many different variables on how this could have played out. But then when they try and establish so much within this 5 minute period that compromises where your thought process is up until this point, it doesn't give you enough time to digest it properly. And that's, for me, one of my biggest issues with this, is there is so much to digest here and not enough time to process the information. And I don't know. I've seen this movie like 3 or 4 times now, and every time I get here, I get like a couple of sentences, and I'm trying to piece them into the storyline that I've created in my head and the lore that I've developed in my brain, and it just doesn't give you enough time to do that, I don't think.
No, the one thing they do here that I think does works for me is, so Pedro gets out and he snaps and he picks up the telescope, the golden telescope of doom. And instead of stabbing it through the neck, like he was told like less than 2 minutes ago, it needs to go in the nape of the neck. Instead of doing that, he bludgeons Uriel to death with it.
I do like the way Uriel's floating head comes out the stage. It's like that.
Yeah. It looks like somebody had him on a stick and was moving him around like that.
It's like fucking whack it mole things where you've got to hit it with a hammer.
Yeah, and then his head deflates like a pop basketball.
Yeah. And then we get a literal demon, a child demon, basically steps out and runs the fingers across Pedro's head and puts 3 marks across his head. Now this
again, like that there is like perfect, because that doesn't imply. I'm there like, wow, is he a marked one? Is he some sort of sacrificial lamb now? Like, so what's the purpose of the running the blood across his head?
So in Catholicism, this is almost exactly how they say the coming of Satan would come again. It would be born out of a terrible situation and out of an unclean body. And the mark is the three lines, because he does 3 fingers and not 4. The mock there to mock the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's why there's 3. It's the same as a demon will tap 3 times for exactly the same reason. So it
doesn't have any purpose on Pedro. He's not now marked or.
No.
See, this is where I thought, and now I had a big. I was going to ask you this question of what you thought, because this is for me, which obviously means that I'm probably completely fucking wrong. But once again, it comes down to how you take this movie, right? Is so I know, like I agree, like, well, obviously what Scott said is fact, but that I completely get, because he marks him 3 times, and I feel like he's marked. But I kept on thinking about why he didn't kill him.
Oh, it's to torture him. That's the point of the demon.
And then it goes back to the bit that I said earlier that makes sense to the end of the story, because they can see all. They see everything. They can see the past, the present, and the future. And the demon that comes out, has already seen the path that he's been on to get here, but he can also see what happens next. And that's why the demon chooses not to kill him. So you think when you're watching it, you're like, that's an act of mercy, so to speak, because he's created, he's allowed this demon to live in a way and so on. And the demon's just like, fuck you, I'm here, blah, blah, blah. But for me, it becomes about like it was earlier on, where the kid was just like telling exactly what was going to happen, and then it happened. For me, it was like that demon did the same thing without saying words, and that's why he left him, because he knew that he was still going to continue in his own living hell.
Yeah, it was. There was more suffering to come, and it was like, I could kill you now, but what I've got teed up for you is so much more enjoyable for me.
Far more worse.
Yeah.
One thing again, like this, let's just consider this. I know we've got a scene after this, but let's just consider this the penultimate. This is it. This is the end of the movie. This is fucking frustrating, is it not?
No.
Like, come on, like, what happens? Like, has this happened prior? Is this the first time that a demon has escaped?
Yeah, see, that's questions I've got, but I like the walking off into the world is again,
really cool.
that sits right with how it would happen, because if you follow any sort of religion, a demon doesn't come out and fucking slay everyone. The whole purpose of a demon is if your demon gets into the real world, its job is to get more people to follow it, to basically grow an audience. So effectively, this demon that's come out is going to become the satanic version of Jesus and go around and pick up followers and basically grow a following and become an evil army is effectively what's going to happen. I really liked that they didn't do anything special with this kid demon. They just wandered away. But I've got the question of, if this is worse in the cities, surely this has happened before. Like, surely there's people as stupid as Pedro and Jamie who fucked this up multiple times. There must be loads of these demons knocking around now.
That's what I mean. I know this is a contained story, but I wanted to know more. And again, that's not fault of the movie. That's not the movie's fault for not explaining that to me. But that was just right. Where's the sequel? I need to know what goes on next. What happens? How does this develop? Where does this go further? And in a way, I suppose that's in essence credit to them, because we have that yearning for more story within this world. But for me, it just fucking annoyed me, man. And I'm not going to downgrade the movie for it, because it's fucking brilliant. But it's like,
well, it makes me want a prequel, this film, because obviously
had this exact conversation before we came on air.
Yeah, because the prequel will obviously give you the understanding of the scale, because we know from when I watched this movie and when I finished watching this movie, even the first time, what I understand from it is that this was a scaled attack with demons and possession and so on like that. This happened over in the cities and all that sort of stuff. But then they found a way of, and by doing it and then learning, because obviously then they understand all the rules of what you can and what you can't do. They managed to eradicate what they could, to the point that now it is only in places like where Pedro and stuff is. So it's almost like, what is it? Those the more typical Hollywood movies that they have, like the Quiet Place. I think it's Quiet Place or wherever it is. Now they're going back to where it all originally began, and that's going to be like really more, obviously, a lot more Hollywood. But it'd be so interesting to see if this was obviously made by the same people, where they would take this if it was a prequel, and how they would show the scale, the scope of a like a demon invasion, so to speak, this possession, to then how they eradicated it enough for it to be where we start the story in When Evil Lurks.
Yeah. See, I'd definitely like to see a prequel to this, and I'd love them to, like, if they prequeled this, I'd love them to have nods back to this. So let's have the same dog. Let's have the goats. Let's see this thing infect an entire field of chickens, and the chickens infect like there's so much, because it can infect.
You could have the fucking goat turns up.
Yeah, you could have so much scope with what you could play. Like, it infects a pigeon. A pigeon flies from building to building in a city. How quick could that spread shit? Like, it's the scope that they could go to with this is like World War Z levels of infection, and really, really quick. And
as long as it doesn't have Brad Pitt looking around the corner.
As that, though, if it is as simple as spreading the infection that easy, I have to personally, I don't think that's the case. I don't think the infection spreads as easy as we assume it would. I feel like it's a contained infection spread. Like the guy who had the goat, for instance, I don't feel like the spread. Like, I don't feel like that goat could just get picked up on the back of a farmer's truck and take the infection to him. I feel like if that goat left the vicinity of the guy, then he would no longer be possessed. I feel like the possession is following the person as opposed to the creature itself. So if he left the vicinity of the goat and encountered a tiger, the tiger would be possessed within his presence, not necessarily the tiger itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's my take anyway. I don't feel like it could just spread globally like through rats or something like that.
And again, like we're guessing because they don't explain it, which is why we need a fucking prequel.
It's
like
brilliant,
anyone,
it's
and it's like Scott was saying as well. He's like, and they also it fits in with what you were saying, Mark, because as we know, like you were saying, it wants to build an army. So when in the prequel, so to speak, when it starts, you know, that leads into like what you were saying, because it's got to try and build the army. It can't build an army if it goes from one person to another person to another person to another person. There still has to be.
I don't feel like it's like the mind flare from Stranger Things, and it can just take itself off, and to build itself strong enough to think it. I feel like it has to be like a tethered system within the vicinity of the people who are included within it. So like Pedro, his brother, and the guy who owns the land at the farm, like it's people within their vicinity because they've been touching Uriel, and it can't just take itself off and create this mass conception. It has to be within a certain area. And again, my perception, and this is it's sparking these conversations, which is why I fucking love this movie so much, because it does that. And would over explaining it compromise that? That's one thing I want to know from you guys. Do you feel like over explaining the law, because at this point now we've thrown around some fucking fantastic ideas on what we think could have happened or how this works. If we get something that's subpar to what we've already manifested within our mind, are we going to be disappointed regardless of what they throw out based on that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, if this film hadn't have been what it was and made us have these conversations and followed a more normalized path of story and structure and going, we need to hit this beat and this beat and this beat, but in a normalized way in cinema, we wouldn't be talking about it the way that we are. And we wouldn't be
because of how successful this film is it going to follow those beats when it does get produced?
Yeah, and we wouldn't be then going, we want a fucking prequel, because so many times I will watch a movie like this. Like, this movie is so special that I'm one of those people that I'm happy for a film like this to be left on its own and not have it.
I don't want this to be touched. At the same time, I want answers. At the other time, I don't feel like they will satisfy anything that I've concocted myself. So, like, I don't want this to be touched for that reason.
Exactly. But at the same time, this film, more than a lot of other movies, makes me want to know more. And I want to have a prequel. And if a prequel came out, I wouldn't be so annoyed that it's happened, as long as it was done by the same people. But I wouldn't be so more annoyed that it happened as long as it was on the same quality and the caliber as this. But it's one of those things, obviously, you're never going to know, because obviously it'll probably be a different director and it'd be more Hollywood and it'd be shit. Or at some point, this will be remade like they've done with that shit movie Speak No Evil with James McAvoy.
To be fair, man, that trailer looks pretty fucking good. I'll be honest with you.
I couldn't stand it. I could not stand that.
Oh, have you seen it?
Trailer. Yeah, because I hate the movie.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you meant you'd actually seen the movie.
Yeah, so I've seen the movie. I hate it. And the trailer, I hate. Because once again, it's Hollywood doing its thing of putting money into something that is literally a scene-by-scene, essentially word-by-word remake of the original.
Oh, so it plays out
why
like
putting your money into a piece of Yeah. Why pay money? Why are Hollywood doing this for a film that, to be fair, a lot of people fucking hated? I despise that movie. But but why are you putting money into this when you could be funding more films like this? Like this, with an original idea, with an incredible concept that gives something that people like us can sit here on a podcast and talk about so honestly and so passionately, and think of all the different routes and layers and everything like that. And then we get a fucking remake word for word of the same movie. It's a piece of shit. Fuck it.
So I won't be watching that this summer then.
That's a perfect segue into the close of this movie. So Pedro.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
that. But before Jamie does, before they meet up, Jamie sees Uriel's little brother from the very beginning of the movie, who tells him that he killed the cleaner. and he also insinuates that he then killed his mother after they left. He hints this has happened to Jamie's mother as well. He doesn't say it outright, but he basically says it. Inside, Pedro is giving Jer finally his apple ice cream that he's wanted for the entire movie. And Jer starts to choke. Pedro starts to help him, and there's a bit of blood coming out, and he pulls out a little bit of hair, and then Pedro starts to panic, is like sticking his whole hand down his throat, and he pulls out this massive clump of hair, and as it hits the floor, in the hair is grandmother's necklace.
Well, no, the hair hits the floor, and then he's got this really cool shot of like he has like the chain just sort of slides up the side of his mouth, and then the heavy pendant drops, and it's all just like swinging before it falls to the floor. It's fucking awesome because the actor who's playing him is just so deadpan. Obviously, he's an autistic kid.
Before we get to the bit that we know that we're going to talk about, which is the best shot of the movie, one of the other really cool things about that is. I don't know if you noticed, I mean, I'm sure you did, but because obviously it's a cross is her necklace, so he pulls it out and it's a cross. And
I thought it was like people.
It could be, I don't know, I think it's like a cross or something like that. The only reason I think that is because when it goes on the floor, there's a shot, and whatever it falls in, it's like this goopy stuff. That goopy stuff starts sizzling.
Oh, as if to say like it's like holy water kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's like he swallowed this cross, or something that's blessed, so to speak, and he's regurgitating it out.
It's a necklace with it's a necklace with various different religious charms on them.
Yeah, so it's like he's regurgitating it out, and that's why almost it's like it's almost like a religious thing, so to speak, because it's almost like. There's like the good. Once again, it's like the depiction of good is still driving it out of this possessed, this possessed body, this possessed mind, and then they have that little cool shot where it's all sort of like almost acidic on the floor, and I thought that was quite cool. But then obviously we're going to that bit.
Who wants to take the look?
Oh, you do it. It's not my show.
Go on, BP, you're on a roll. Give us it. You're doing well. Go for it.
Well, he does this sort of look, doesn't he? So he's like that, and then you won't really see it on my camera. So he's sort of like this, and then he goes. You won't really see it. But,
but he does with this. He's like, does one thing I wanted to ask was, does Pedro see the look? Because I can't tell whether Pedro's looking over his shoulder or he's making eye contact.
He sees it. Because a millisecond before you see him like look, and then that's how he catches him, because he does this little thing where it does like the wider shot of Pedro's face where he's sort of like shocked by it. But he does the millisecond sort of before, from what I remember, he sort of looks at him, and it's almost like a look up to see if he's going to be caught. You know what I mean? Like he's almost because it leads into like what I just said before about the cross and the religious symbols and stuff, and it being on the floor, and he sort of sees that, and it's almost, for me, it's almost like the demon inside of Jer going, "I've been caught."
Yeah,
and I think the beauty of this scene in particular is up until this point, Pedro's never really broken. I mean, he's lost everything. He's lost his ex-wife. He's lost his son. He's lost his mother. On that, I'm not sure whether he knows his mother's already dead, but I don't think he knows that his son has eaten his mother, which we find out as the necklace comes up. But one thing about this in particular, which makes the ending so impactful for me, is that he's lighting the fire. He's giving him his ice cream, and he's got this sort of almost like a salvation that his son is still alive. He still has his son at the end of all this traumatic events. And as the necklace comes out and he gets this glance and he looks at him and side-eyes him, it's almost like everything just clicks in Pedro's mind. He's like, shit, he's still possessed. And that's when he leaves. He goes outside. He just breaks down. He just screams into the air, this sort of like blood-curdling scream. And then the credits roll. But before the credits roll, the score starts coming back in and Pedro screams again. But only this time we don't hear him scream because the score's playing over the top of it. You just see it's almost like the audio from his scream has been cut, and the ominous score starts playing over the top, and it's just so fucking cool, man. It's like it takes him losing his son for him to lose everything, for him to hit that final breaking point. And I guess in a way that kind of comes back to what we were talking about of maybe why he's been spared, because he knows that he has such this immense suffering coming his way when he gets this revelation that he gets in this moment. And that for me is just so fucking cool, man.
Yeah,
well, the demon knows he's got hell to come.
Yeah, and it's such a
he
cool
knows
ending.
He's got hell to come. It's not over for him, and yeah, it's such a sad sort of ending to the movie where there is, like I keep saying, I see this almost like a constant like a redemption story where he's trying to do the right thing, but he fucks up every step of the way and he makes wrong choice after wrong choice. And like you were saying, Mark, when he's finally there lighting the fire, it feels like he feels like a sense of he's done something right and he's managed to save his son. There's a form of redemption for him. After everything that he's been through, he's done something right, where he spent his whole life quite clearly doing everything wrong. And then it gets worse for him, and it makes the impact of him being spared even more impactful, but in like the worst possible fucking way.
But it just has so many layers to his character as a whole. I mean, like, if you look at it from a perspective of this is a guy who everything he touches turns to shit throughout his life. And the entirety of the movie, every time he has a character interaction, they die at the hands of his involvement. And it comes full circle. And the ending of the movie is him alone with his brother once again, as it was how it started, regardless of how many characters we've been introduced to throughout this film.
Yeah, it's a really powerful ending. And we're going to have lots to say in our wrap-ups, but we're going to take a quick break. When you finish with this episode, why not head over to yourunpodcast.com and check out the Horror Friendly Podcast. Hosted by Charlie, Katie and Chantel, this is an exciting, entertaining and funny podcast covering horror movies from the past, the present and new releases as well. Do not miss out on this super exciting show hosted by three of the greatest hosts in all of podcasting. Go and check them out at yourunpodcast.com today. So go and check out the Horror Friendly Podcast and all of the other members of the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. While you're there, you can also check out our movie. You can also buy some merch. We've got our really cool T-shirt that's just come out, inspired by some horrible comments that Mark made about me, which is that one there.
I still need that T-shirt.
Yeah. Let's do some 3-word reviews. Sadly, there weren't a lot this week, and that is 100% because not enough people have seen this movie. That's the only reason. The same as there's no TikTok talks this week because I put it out and I had like loads of comments going, I've not seen this. What's this? Where can I watch it? I was like, oh, come on, it's on Shudder. Go watch it. Yeah. So BP has got a really cool function on his screen that he doesn't know how he's got. And BP's going to rate these. And this is a visual thing. So if you're watching, you'll get the full enjoyment from this. So we've got over on X first, we've got Voices from the Mausoleum, Dark, Deadly, Wild.
Oh, I don't think there's a middle bit. I like the dark. I like the deadly. Wild, I suppose it is, but I wanted a triple D. But we go with a thumbs up. Hey, there we go.
Hey, we got a thumbs up for that one. We've got Hazel Monzalo, Quiet, Dreadful, Paste. Yeah, Mark's not feeling that, nor's BP.
I don't know. I get it. I don't like.
Don't feel bad, BP. You don't have to give them all the thumbs down.
Sorry.
Oh, we got a thumbs
down. Thumbs down as well. That's awesome.
I didn't even know it did that.
Over on Instagram, we've got Corpse Feed, and they've gone with Pure Fucking Evil, and they're a horror movie reviewer.
It's too close to the title. Get rid of it.
Oh, no, another thumbs down. Okay. We've got Cecil Candy Bottom. They're on Instagram as well, and they've gone with Pure Horror Gold.
I mean, I suppose they're not wrong, so we'll go that. We go with a thumbs up because they're not wrong.
We've got False Cult Rick, That Good Papa, and they're the host of the Nightclub podcast. So they're a big fan of the dog.
What the dog doing?
It reminds me of Stranger Things too much. Forget about it.
Oh,
Stranger
no,
Things
another
is
thumbs
awesome.
down.
What the dog doing?
I love Stranger Things, but I don't want to be reminded of it. It makes me cry too much.
And then our final one, we've got Give Back My Horror Movies, and they've gone simply with Holy Fucking Shit, and they're a horror movie podcaster.
Was that the last one?
That was the last one. Yay! Double thumbs up, fireworks.
There you go. You get
That's
some
so cool.
fireworks.
I feel like three-word
made of
review this
magic. I'm
week
like a
has not
fucking
been
wizard.
creative enough for the feature of BP. We've had some absolute blinders in the past. Some killer three-word reviews. They all felt a little bit generic, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I
I'm a
think
harsh
again,
critic, though.
it is purely because not enough people have seen this movie. Like, if you've not seen this, go and get a Shudder subscription.
Yeah.
Go and get a free trial and give this movie a watch. It's definitely worth it. With facts are a little bit thin on the ground this week as well, being an independent movie. BP as a podcaster knows this pain. When it's an independent movie, no one knows fucking nothing.
Sure do.
We've
Sure
got
do.
so there's no official budget released for this, but it's rumored to be around $250,000.
Wow. For the practical effects makeup alone. That is insane.
This made
that's it, because the effects are incredible.
Yeah, I mean, this had a limited cinema release, like a really limited across the world, and it weighed $1.3 million plus whatever they got in the Shudder deal, which I imagine is phenomenal amounts of money.
You say that though, but I don't know how the Shudder deal works. Like, they might have been picked up by Shudder and they might have offered them certain amount of money, but then when this just went wild, like it did when it was released, that doesn't necessarily mean that Shudder would have increased their fee. It's like, oh well, this has been successful, so we're going to give you more money. Shudder have just been like, wow, we just got a fucking bargain here.
Yeah, this is very true.
Yeah, that's the problem with streaming services, isn't it?
Yeah, it did make a
no
boatload of cash anyway. The movie is actually about pesticides. So the Argentinian director saw stories of pesticides that were being used widespread in the sort of farming community, and people who were coming down sick, and entire villages that were coming down sick, and the stories that went with it of like it was spreading from person to person when it wasn't. And he wanted to create something that showed the idea of evil spreading but unchecked, like no real clear path of how to stop it. And I think he achieved that.
100%.
This director also brought us Terrified in 2017, which is dreadful. Like nowhere near.
That surprised me you say that, because I've had people say how amazing that movie is and like it's genuinely terrifying. It's been on my watch list for so long, but I've never seen it. But I've heard it's fucking phenomenal. I
hated it. However, he did also direct Satanic Hispanics, which honestly is one of the best movies of 2022. That is fabulous.
Is that an anthology?
Yes.
Yes, I need to watch that as well. That's free on Shudder as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And that is about it for all we've got in movie facts. But we do have not a new game. We have a game. So we give you the option to vote for quizzes or not for a quiz. BP led the charge by jumping straight on his story and going, don't give me a quiz. I fucking hate quizzes.
Yeah, I fucking hate them.
Not disappointed, man.
And everyone agreed with BP, and they gave him a fun game instead. Now,
thank you, everyone.
I had lots of ideas. So it's like, do we play That's Not My Porno? Do we play Don't Copy Me? Do we play Let the Juice Loose? And eventually I settled on a game that I thought would be fun and entertaining, not just for me, not just for the listeners, but for BP and Mark as well, because Mark has a rough run most weeks.
Better not be spiders in this, mate.
Do you know there was, and I took it out because I thought it was fucking mean.
Yeah, well, it's nice of you. It's not very often you do have that little angel on your shoulder telling you to do the right thing.
No, so this is going to be epic. So in true epic form, we're going to play.
What's that? From Harry Potter or something?
No, it's Lord of the Rings. Are you winding me up?
No, I don't. I can't stand those movies. Sorry.
Right, kick him off. Kick him off now.
I'm gone.
We are going to play Weirdos from the web. And this is really simple. There is 9 clips, I think. I'm going to play you a clip, and all you need to do is try not to laugh. It's really that simple. And then we'll just take your reactions to the clips after you've seen them. So
I love everything.
Are we ready for the first one?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry, dog. Anything to be TikTok famous. 1, 2.
Mama, you throw that dog in the pool and you're going back to live with your mother.
Lucky bastard.
I'm sorry, man.
If it's got a dog in it, I'm laughing. And that dog's face, it was the whole time the dog was just like, I don't care. Like, it was asleep.
That was brilliant.
Right, here's your next one.
That one.
You knew what the fuck I was when you met me, you bitch.
No laughing for that one.
Not funny on that one.
No.
Okay, let's go with this one.
Eye pillow.
Oh, why do I laugh at the most stupid shit, man? For fuck's
Think you
sake.
didn't get that one?
I was hoping something bad was going to happen.
Like a
Well,
fish to the face.
You'll
Yeah,
probably
or
like
a
this.
fire.
You'll like this one then.
2. I'm gonna follow you because just make sure I get this. 1, 2, 3.
Oh! No! No!
Pigeon possessed.
Oh, that poor little girl!
Yeah, I like that one. See, that's like an anti-joke, isn't it? Like that's what I like about that one. It's like the joke where it's like, oh, a horse walks into the bar and the barman said, "Why the long face?" And the horse says, "My family died." It's like one of those sort of jokes.
Right, let's go with the next one.
I'm built different.
Oh shit!
I am not doing very well this week.
You're not doing.
I'll tell you something. I thought I was going to be a mess by the end of this.
I don't know.
saved
I
some.
am that way.
Right, let's try this one.
Ladies love me. I've got a big willy. What more could they want? And I've got guns. That's why I'm gangster. Yo, swag.
He looks like someone from Lord of the Rings. He looks like an orc. The thing is, there's no way that's real, right? There's no way that's real.
that one is actually.
What's the first line? That was what got me. Something about a willy.
I've got a big willy. Oh,
Yeah.
what a lad!
Yeah, that one's a good one.
Right, we got 2 more, and then we've got a one more that's going to tell us to go away. So let's try this one.
Ragu, dip that thing in there. Dip it.
Yeah.
Now this combo smack. I gotta try that.
What the fuck is that? And is she in prison? She needs to go to prison.
Heather's going to call me out for saying butter instead of butter.
Yeah, that was
Butter.
a stick. That was a stick of butter that she was dipping in ragu and then eating it.
Yeah, she needs to go somewhere and
Yeah.
not
Prison
return.
food.
She needs to go to prison and not get out.
Right, let's try this one.
I wonder what this door tastes like. It doesn't really taste of anything.
Dickhead.
I really want it in the face.
Right. Well, we got the last one. And this I have only put this in because as I was searching for these types of videos, this come up and it made me chuckle because I'd spent hours watching strange people on TikTok, and this was what I come across.
Are you on the weird side of TikTok again? Go home. That's enough. Enough TikTok, man. Get out of here. Dog, own
it. He made me chuckle. It's like I've been watching.
Did I just die? Am I dead inside? Like, there's something wrong with me. I've lost the. If they were all videos of a dog, I would have been laughing my head off.
Well, I think we got a clear winner, and this was the clear winner.
All right, I'm sorry, dog. Anything to be TikTok famous. 1, 2.
Mama, you throw that dog in the pool and you're going back to live with your mother.
Lucky bastard.
The funny thing is that my dog does those sort of faces all the time as well. So that's what makes me laugh.
Yeah,
He's seeing him do that sort of face.
Into roundups, I'm going to round this up first because I think mine will probably be the least positive. Well, not least positive, but I'll have the most problems out of everyone. I hate reading a movie. I say it every time we do a subtitled movie. Call me uncultured, call me picky, but it takes me out of the experience that I have to read. Yeah, okay, fine, whatever. That being said, this is better than many subtitle movies I've watched. Some of the dialogue felt clunky, but I don't know if that's a translation issue where they've translated it into the words.
Yeah, it is. I've heard a lot of criticism about this movie in terms of the translations of the subtitles and the subtitles not being very accurate to what the actors are actually saying. And I think that's, from what I've heard and what I've read and videos I've seen on YouTube, I think that's a Shudder issue as opposed to anything else. So you may be able to find a better translated version in terms of subtitles. But yeah, this one's not as accurate as what they're saying.
No, my is your
the
dog
bear
right?
is back.
The bear has returned. The lack of explanation is the biggest issue I've got with this. It's like, what was going on in the city?
BP, can you not hear that dog from where you are?
I'm just choosing to ignore him.
How can you
You don't have to listen. I have to sleep in the same room as him, and it's like
no, you cannot have that in your bedroom.
Yeah, in our bedroom, because he's so needy that when we try to have him downstairs, it doesn't work. So we have to have him in the bedroom, and he's like an elephant sometimes because he's got a flat face and decides to put his flat face like that into a cover, and it echoes like surround sound.
No, man, I would not have that.
The lack of explanation annoyed me a lot. There's some really cool ideas and there's some great kills. Like being possessed and like the being able to possess like the dog and the goat, like, all of that is fabulous. It's a solid independent movie, but it lacks the finesse of something that had more money script end. So give this to a studio that have got a bit more money and you could have had the best possession horror for decades. My problem lie around the lore and the writing. Like, why is the main demon you meet at the beginning, why is he so important? Are the other demons lesser demons? Are they not all possessed by different demons? Is it one demon possessing everyone? Like, are they all carrying unborn children or is it just the one? Like, if it's worse in the city, surely this happened before. Like, all of these questions are the things that irritated the shit out of me because I wanted to know. And because they don't explain it and they don't give me any explanation and it's up to my own mind, as far as I'm concerned, there's loads of demons. This has happened loads of times. And because it's happened loads of times, it's obviously not that big a fucking deal because the world is still spinning and everyone's still fine. There's too many holes for this. Like, there's too many things that fall apart. I didn't hate it, but I felt that they, because of that lack of explanation, they then lent heavily on the shock factor, like the dog, the axe, the woman picking the brains out of the child. And I'm not sure if they wanted to be a zombie movie or a possession movie. Like they tried to meld both lanes, and I don't think it always worked. I think this suited a possession style horror better than this kind of zombified, decaying bodies. I don't think that fitted as well. For me, it's a good movie, and I'm nitpicking at it because of the lack of explanation. It's a 3 out of 5. I enjoyed it. I'd watch it again, but I do have issues with it. BP, where are you with it?
So I mean, people that watch this, they may not, because nobody listens to my fucking show or watches my shit anyway, so they might not know, but some people know that outside of all of this, like filmmaking and acting is what I always wanted to do with my life, right? And this is a movie that so when I watch movies, my perspective is sometimes different to those that watch it if they don't want that to be their career or their life choice or whatever. So the way that I watch movies is annoying most of the time to me, because I overanalyze everything. And that's why there's a lot of movies that might actually be pretty good that I just don't like. So for me to really, truly enjoy a movie, it has to tick every box. Now, it doesn't mean that it has to succeed perfectly in every single one, but it has to be able to tick every single box to a certain degree. And when Evil Lurks does that for me, it completely nails the structure of a story. Like I said earlier, like one of my favorite cool little bits is just the understanding of, we know that it can't get into the brain of an autistic or a disabled child, or anybody with a disability or autism. We know that it has to try and figure it out almost like a puzzle. And you can almost then start thinking about how that works inside the brain. And then we get the payoff, like I said earlier, in where we know that that's not a good thing. And there's so much where that happens within this movie that's just one piece of the whole movie as a puzzle. The film aesthetically, like you said, Mark, as well, aesthetically, this film looked great. It's nothing that you're going to go, this is going to win awards of cinematography, but it looks fantastic. And the way that they deal with the colors and everything really lends to the movie, and it doesn't take you out of the experience of watching the movie, which is incredible. The music, they use it when they need to, and they use it perfectly when they need to. It's not in your face. It's like you were saying, Mark, earlier on as well, where at one point it's sort of not there, but it goes up and goes up, or like at the end where it goes up and goes up, and then it sort of stops because there's nothing, and then it drowns out his screams, and they bring the music in, and it adds that factor of like, well, everything's fucked. Like and then you get the performances in this movie, which is they are so good, it's ridiculous. Like, you can't fault the performances in this movie, especially the I don't know his name, but the guy that plays Pedro. He's so good, and the range of emotions that he's able to depict in what is a foreign language movie to an Englishman who is not an academic whatsoever, but yet I can still feel that through a different language. It's unbelievable. I truly hold this film highly regarded, not just as a film and how it works as a horror movie perspective, where it has the gore, it has the incredible practical effects, it has the shocks, it has the twists, it has the turns, it has everything that you need in a horror movie. But I couldn't recommend this more on a filmmaking perspective any more than I could. I think this film is a modern masterpiece of horror that exceeds the fact that it is a foreign language movie, and that is a point that I can't put across more. If there are people out there like yourself, Scott, there, where you don't necessarily like watching these movies because you have to read, this is one of those movies where I encourage people that love horror, that want to see something that they may have not felt or seen before because they've stayed away from subtitled movies. This is a perfect entry point for people, because you don't necessarily even need it to understand where it's going and what's going to happen. You're just taking on this journey that, even though it's a horrible, horrible journey, and it starts badly, and it's in the middle bad, and at the end, it's about as horrible and as sad as it possibly can be. You can't stop thinking about it afterwards, and I still can't stop thinking about it. And also, so I can shut up because I always fucking go on and on. But
no, don't worry. What's
amazing
for me?
Yeah, sorry. But what's also absolutely incredible about this movie, and the reason that I know that this film, like, it got me on every level as somebody that watches these movies and enjoys them, and as somebody as a filmmaker as well, is that I watch so many films all the time, doing the podcast, and even before I was doing the podcast, and since I was 7, 8 years old, just constantly watching movies, not just horror, just movies in general. And what's incredible about this movie is that, very often I watch a movie, I forget about it. And then I go and watch it again. I'm like, oh, I have seen this. Or, oh, I remember bits of this. I've seen this movie once before. And then I watched it when we doing the prep for this episode. But I remembered so much of this movie, and it had such an impact on me that I didn't even need to watch it because I remembered every single aspect of what happened in this movie. And that happens very rarely.
Where would you score
it? If we are going on a movie, when I try and score things, I don't think about anything on the outside. I try and think of the movie in itself, on its own perspective, not thinking about, do I think this is the best film ever made, and how it rates up against those? Like, you know, am I always going to watch The Shining over this? Yeah, absolutely. The Shining's a 5-star movie, but this film on its own merits as the movie that it is, and what I enjoyed about the movie and what I take from the movie, for me, it's a 5-star movie.
Don't feel bad about your score, man. It's worthy. It's worthy.
No, I just the problem with my scoring is that my brain automatically goes to the big movies, like the biggest movies that I think are 5 stars, like Alien and Predator and all that sort of stuff. Like, they're my 5-star movies. And my brain automatically goes to comparing those movies against this. So I've had to really trick myself into basically reviewing a movie on its own merits. So that's what I try and do. So now I've learned to do that. And it means that the way that I think about it is a little bit different. But this to me, on its own merits as a movie for what it does, I couldn't recommend it more. 5 bloody stars.
Okay. Mark?
Mate, if that doesn't stick around for multiple episodes to come, I don't know. I will lose.
This is going to be as epic and as long as the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Settle in, folks.
No, right. The thing is, going to it, I know how long this could be, so I am going to bullet point for that reason, because I will be here for hours. So I'm going to bullet point briefly before I do my spiel. I think the acting's fantastic, as BP's mentioned. Pedro, especially the main guy, I think they all are very, very authentic portrayals of normal people, which enhances the experience of the movie. I think tonally, the way everything is lit and visualized on screen is fantastic, and all credit to the director for the way he shoots and processes this movie as a storytelling narrative. I think, like, what's presented on screen is just as important as the story itself, because it puts you into almost like a sense of you are there with these characters. And I think the way that they set up Pedro and his brother as these bumbling idiots makes a story so much more investing, because of how it's not like this Tomb Raider-esque, oh, the heroes are going to save the day and stop this chaos. They're not. They're just everyday people. And I feel like the actors who portray that sort of story do a very good job of doing so. The score we've mentioned is vital when necessary. It's not something that you would automatically be like, oh, the score to this movie is incredible, because it's not at the forefront throughout. It's just there briefly when needed. And when it does come in, it's pitch perfect throughout. And that's about as much as I'm going to say in regards to the overall quality of the movie itself, because everything that I have dived into throughout the episode, I've already said, so I would just be repeating myself. What I do want to say about this movie, and why I feel like it is as great as it is, and why it's been so important to me in the past year since it's released, is I joined this horror community through social media and doing the podcast with Scott because I have a passion to talk about movies. I have a passion to dissect films and have insight from other people and put my point across and listen to their perceptions and wonder whether that changes my perceptions. And nothing has highlighted that any more than this episode tonight, because coming into this movie, I said to Scott, I was like, do you know what, man? When I first reviewed this on my page, I give it a 5 out of 5. I was like, it was the best film I'd seen in ages. I watched it again, and I had some issues that I brought up on the show, issues in terms of the little girl and her injuries and her not coming back. And I felt like they cut that short, and that was something that they should have committed to a little bit more. And we bounced back and forth about the law and how things weren't explained. My first watch of this, I didn't need any of that explained because I had my own interpretation and it was there for me. And it's only because I've had to go back and try and dissect it for the show that I've pulled those issues apart a little bit. I would never have done that had it not been for doing this podcast episode tonight. I would have still lived in the glorified era of this is the greatest thing that's ever existed in the past 10 years. But what's so important about this movie for me is the ability that it's provided me to be able to talk about it on a certain level like we have tonight. And we've all put forward our different varying takes and different opinions and what we think this means and what we think that means and how we would have done this better. And that's what I love about horror, and that's what I love about horror as a whole. And I haven't felt that passionate about a movie in so long, where I've wanted to flesh it out as much as I have on this level. We've just gone off on such tangents tonight, and we've had theories and facts. And I was really apprehensive about this episode tonight because I thought this movie is going to be really difficult to talk about and try and pull apart. And I think because we've had such contrasting opinions has made it as epic as it has been for me. I've really, really enjoyed talking about this movie tonight, and I was so apprehensive about it because I thought it was going to be really hard. Because if we were going through a point thing and we weren't really going to pull it apart like we have tonight, it would have made it so much harder.
Yeah.
And I want to retract my statement from saying that I'm going to give it a 4.5 because it is a 5 out of 5 movie. And having this episode tonight has just made me appreciate it so much more from getting other people's different perspectives on what their opinion of it is and what their approach of the narrative is. So I think it's beautiful. I think it's a masterful movie, and I think everybody should watch it. And when they do, come and talk to me about it so I can relive this night again, because I just want to talk about this movie forever because I think it's brilliant, and I think everybody should watch it and give it the recognition it deserves. So it's a 5 out of 5. If you haven't seen When Evil Lurks, please go and show it some support. It's free on Shudder. Check it out. Come talk to me about it afterwards because I'd love to hear your take on it. Yay, fireworks.
So this is the time of the show where BP shows us his wares like the peddler in Aladdin, tells us all about his show and where to find him and where to get involved in Let's Talk Horror channel. Welcome to the Creep Zone. Everything he does on every single social media, he's an absolute stallion with the amount of content he puts out. So, BP, sell yourself.
Oh, this is the part. This is like the reversal of when you were on mine last time for the specials. This is the worst part, isn't it? So Let's Talk Horror or Let's Talk Horror channel, whatever you want to call it. It is literally a horror content related channel. The biggest takeaway from it all, obviously, we have all the socials. The socials is really there to promo and support the main part of what the Let's Talk Horror is, and that is the podcast. So like Scott said, we've got the audio podcast that comes out on the 1st of every month where we talk about something in the world of horror. Then we have the video podcast series, which is exclusive to our YouTube channel. And that is about something else, that's something different than the audio podcast. And that comes out on the 15th of every month. Until that may possibly change, not the date, but the way that the show is and the way that the show is structured. It may be going through some big changes, but God knows if that's going to happen yet. But for now, we've got the audio podcast you can listen to on any podcast platform. We've got the video podcast and also on the YouTube channel as well. I'm trying to bring out, I was doing a lot more. I've got so busy and I get so stressed out by it all that I've stopped doing as much as I did. and I really need to start doing more. So there's going to be more reviews. I did a review recently for like Late Night at the Devil. Really enjoyed that. And then I also been doing some trailer reactions and more. So there's going to be a lot more coming for the YouTube channel because I'm really enjoying it, especially the video, the Welcome to the Creep Zone series, which is why I got the fancy sign behind me. Although I had to make the ease up on it. Hopefully it doesn't notice so much. I thumbed up myself. But yeah, I really love doing this and talking about horror. And I couldn't reiterate what Mark said more about it, is that when we get to have these amazing discussions, like this is like, I say this all the time, but this is like therapy to me. Like doing this is my therapy. This is my getaway from the rest of the world and all the problems that we may or may not have in it. This is my therapy. So I get to do that on my show every single month, video one, audio one, and yeah, I bloody love it. And you know, if you want something else to listen to, then you've got something else over there.
Yeah, and go and listen to BP's show, because BP's show he's incredibly modest, and he's like, oh, not sure about this, not sure about that. BP's show is fabulous, and I listen every single month. I watch every single month. I've been honoured enough to be a guest multiple times. Like BP's
Absolutely.
channels are fabulous, so go and check them out. Also, leave them a review. If you go and watch them on YouTube, subscribe. Like all these little things really help. So go and do that as well. Thank you very much for joining us for this episode, BP. We love having you here, and I'm glad we had, like, this episode, I'm going to say, is one of the best episodes we've done, because
wow, that's awesome.
Because of the movie and the way that we all had different takeaways from it, and we all view it differently. Even now, even after we've discussed it, we all look at this from different viewpoints. Granted, I had some issues with it, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a great movie, and the fact that it sparked a great conversation. And
this is exactly what a movie should be, and it should spark the discussions about. And the fact that we've been able to sit here and have our own opinions about it, and but enjoy it. And like I said, coming into this, I was really nervous because I always want to try and make things fun. And how do you make a film like this really fun? But I think that the fun came through having just honest and amazing conversations. So I've had the best time.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much for coming on. We're going to be back.
Thumbs up? I don't know.
Yeah, double thumbs up. The fireworks. There we go. If you're seeing these fireworks, you will be seeing these fireworks on Rumble, because that is now the exclusive home of the You Run podcast video version. We're no longer on YouTube. We've departed YouTube and defected over to Rumble, so you can get us there. And if you're watching us on Rumble, you will be watching this before the audio podcast is out everywhere. So hello to everyone on Rumble. We'll be back next week. We're going to be covering a movie that is popular, but we've not covered on the show yet. As we recording this, the final of that poll is out now, and it is 50-50 down the middle. We're either going to be covering Alien or we're going to be covering Get Out.
It needs to be Alien, man. This has been in the poll so many times, and we need to do Alien.
Either one of those is going to be a great episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. A huge thank you to BP again, and we will catch you all next time. See you later,
guys. Adios.
Bye.
Hey, everyone.
The You Run podcast.
The You Run podcast.
You want to die tonight?
Scott, I think you know who the fuck this is that's talking.
Cancel Mark. I was terribly offended.
Because after all, this is not our show. This is your show.